wanted to say to the Scamala Harris campaign. My inbox is flooded with reactionary, emotional Scamala Harris Democratic Party plantation slaves. My inbox has been flooded by Democratic Party plantation slaves of the Scamala Harris campaign. This is what I want to say to the Democratic Party plantation slaves of the Scamala Harris campaign. If y'all want black people to stop talking about Scamala's racial heritage, if y'all want black people to stop talking about Scamala Harris's racial heritage, if y'all want black people to stop talking about Scamala Harris's racial heritage, all you have to do is start talking about policies and programs, and we will stop talking about her race. Let me say this again. This is advice for the Scamala Harris campaign. I'm giving out advice for the Scamala Harris campaign. I'm giving out advice for the Scamala Harris campaign. The reason American Africans are overly concerned about her race is due to the fact that so far her race has been the only reason given by the Democratic Party plantation as to why black people should vote for her. I want to say this again. I'm going to repeat myself. Ifa Tunde 3 times. London, England, I will see you Sunday afternoon. London, England, I will see you at the Dr. Umar Power Lecture Sunday afternoon. London, England, I will see you at the Dr. Umar Power Lecture Sunday, God willing. Let me repeat this. The reason the American African Kingdom, keeps talking about Scamala Harris's artificial African ancestry is because it's the only reason the Democratic plantation has given us as to why we should vote for her. The only reason you guys are telling us that we should vote for Scamala Harris is because she's black. That is the only reason you have given as to why black people should vote for her. Identity politics. Identity politics. Useless identity politics. If you want us to vote for Scamala, stop talking about race. Because even if she has a black grandparent, which has not yet been proven, even if she has a black grandparent, which has not yet been proven, even if she has a black grandparent, which has not yet been proven, she's rarely, if at all, ever identified as African until she ran for vice president 4 years ago. And don't tell me her membership in the great sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And don't tell me that her membership in the great esteemed sorority of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, don't tell me that Scamala's membership in the great pink and green legacy of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is a justification of her race. Don't tell me that being an AKA makes her black, because there are Caucasian AKAs, just like there are Caucasian Zetas, there are Caucasian Sigma Gamma Rhos, there are Caucasian Deltas, there's Caucasian Alphas and Caucasian Sigmas and Caucasian Kappas and Caucasian Omega Psi Phi. So you can't say that just because she joined a black fraternity 40 years ago, because she joined a black fraternity 40 years ago, that certifies her as black. You can't, because all of the black sororities are multicultural and colorblind. All the black fraternities are multicultural and colorblind. So you can't use her membership in the beautiful, powerful, esteemed Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. You can't use that as a certification of her race, because there are non-African members in the black sororities and fraternities. All I'm saying to the Scamala Harris campaign, if you want black people to vote, talk about policy. Stop talking about race. talk about Donald Trump. Nobody's talking about him being black because he never claimed to be. So we can focus on his policies, and he hasn't articulated any clear policy for the American African. If you notice, Donald Trump, just like Scamala, he talks vaguely to black people. I'm going to rebuild the inner city. How are you going to rebuild it? By gentrifying black people? How are you going to rebuild it? By helping white people take over the inner city? Donald Trump is very vague with his black programs. He can't be trusted. Scamala Harris hasn't even spoken to a black program. She's carrying on her campaign just like Barack Obama. Scamala is carrying on her campaign just like Barack Obama. Scamala is carrying on her campaign just like Barack. Barack didn't say one thing to black people or about black people. Barack didn't say one thing to black people or about black people. When he was campaigning, he didn't say one thing to black people or about black people. Scamala's going to do the same thing. Scamala's going to do the same thing. Donald Trump will mention blacks, but no specific promises or policies. Donald Trump will mention blacks, but no specific policies or programs. He's a fraud. Scamala Harris is also a fraud. All y'all have to do is talk about what she's going to do for black people, and we will stop talking about race. But if the only reason you're giving us for a black vote is the color of her skin, that's not going to fly. If the only reason you're giving us as to why she should get the black vote is the color of her skin, identity politics died with the Barack Obama administration. Identity politics died with the Barack Obama administration. Identity politics died with the Barack. I'm not voting for either one. Vote for what? Vote for what? I got the vote for what t-shirts coming out soon, brothers and sisters. I got the vote for what t-shirts coming out soon, brothers and sisters. I got the vote for what? Oh no, you don't choose the president anyway, but nonetheless. You don't choose the president anyway, but nonetheless. You don't choose the president anyway, but nonetheless. Let me take y'all back to the George Floyd protests for justice. Can we go back 4 years, please, brothers and family, brothers and sisters? Can I take you back? This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism, live from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to one of those malls in a minute. Get me something to wear. Get me some food to eat. Atlanta, Georgia, I'm pulling up in one of your malls to get me some food and get me something to wear in a minute. But before I head on out on the streets of Atlanta, before I head on out on the streets of Atlanta this morning, before I head on out on the streets of Atlanta, Georgia this morning, I might pull up at Slutty Vegan, Tassili's Raw Vegan. Let me say this. 4 years ago, during the George Floyd protests, which occurred at the same time, which occurred around the same time as the campaign for presidency was taking place. Nancy Pelosi's email got exposed. Former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, remember the Caucasian who went to Ghana during the year of return in 2019 and put on some made in China kente cloth? Do y'all remember when the white Democrats went to the slave dungeons of Ghana? Peace and Pan-Africanism to my Ghanaian Africans. I will see you in the Volta region, October 30th to November the 5th. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my Ghanaian Africans in West Africa. I will see you in the Volta region, October 30th to November 5th. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my Ghanaian Africans. I will see you in the Volta region, October 30th to November the 5th. Who remembers during the 2020 election, during the George Floyd protests, during the election campaigns for president, who remembers the presidential campaigns of 2020 that took place during the George Floyd protests? Nancy Pelosi, Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi's email got exposed. Who remembers that? Who remembers when Nancy Pelosi's email got exposed during the 2020 George Floyd protests for justice in U.S. presidential campaigns? Who remembers that? Nancy Pelosi wrote an email to all Democrats. And I want all Scamala Harris campaign representatives to hear me. I want all American African Democratic Party plantation slaves to listen up real quick. I want all American African Democratic Party plantation slaves to listen up. Nancy Pelosi's email got exposed in 2020. Who remembers what Nancy Pelosi said? Who remembers what Nancy Pelosi said? Who remembers what Nancy Pelosi said? Nancy Pelosi said to the Democratic Party's candidates running for office, listen to me. This is what the leading Democrat, other than the president and the vice president, excuse me, Trump was in office. The Democrats were running to regain office. Nancy Pelosi told all Democrats in America running for office in 2020 during the George Floyd protests. Nancy Pelosi told all Democratic Party candidates running for office during the 2020 George Floyd protests. Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House, Democratic Party leader. She was the highest ranking Democrat other than Joe Biden, who was a candidate for office at the time. She was the highest ranking Democrat other than Joe Biden, who was campaigning for office at the time. Nancy Pelosi sent the email to all Democratic candidates running for office in the 2020 election, and she said, do not promise Black Lives Matter or any other black activists any specific policy or programs. I'm going to repeat what I just said because y'all didn't hear me. I'm going to repeat what I just said because y'all didn't hear me. I'm going to repeat what I just said. Ifa Tunde 3 times. Ifa Tunde 3 times. Ifa Tunde 3 times. Nancy Pelosi said, do not promise black activists any specific programs or policies. Nancy Pelosi said, do not promise black activists any specific programs or policies. Nancy Pelosi said, do not promise black people any specific programs or policies. Then she said, try not to meet with black people in large groups. Only meet with individuals and small groups. This is Nancy Pelosi's orders to all Democrats running for public office in the 2020 elections. She told them, do not meet with large groups of black people. Try to meet one-on-one and try to meet small group. Do y'all know why she said that? Who knows why she said? Why did Nancy Pelosi tell all Democrat candidates for the 2020 election cycle not to meet with large groups of blacks? She told them to only meet with individuals in small groups. Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why? So they could not be held accountable for what they said. So they cannot be held accountable for what they said. That's why Barack Obama didn't say nothing to black people. That's why Barack Obama didn't promise nothing to black people. That's why Joe Biden didn't promise nothing to black people. That's why Joe Biden didn't speak to black people. That's why Scamala Harris isn't addressing black people, because if they make a promise, they can be held accountable. If they make a promise to American Africans, they can be held accountable. So they're just going to ignore you altogether. They're going to ignore you altogether, and they're going to hope that they still get your vote. They're going to ignore you altogether, and they're going to hope that they still get your vote. They're going to ignore you altogether, and they're going to hope that they still get your vote. Nobody cares about black people. The best thing we can do is organize that vote in these last 4 months. Well, 3 months. Today is what? August the 9th. Election day is November the 5th. You got 12 weeks to organize the black vote, and do not vote unless you have a direct conversation and direct promises from either candidate. Direct conversation and direct promises. If there is no direct conversation to black people, and if there are no direct promises to black people, we will be holding our vote. We will be holding our vote. I know the slaves of the Democratic Party plantation, and I know the slaves of the Republican Party plantation don't want to hear Dr. Umar say that. I understand the slaves of the Democratic Party and the slaves of the Republican Party don't want to hear me say that. Y'all don't want to hear me say that. But I'm telling black people, we should stand in solidarity with a no vote if we're not going to get a direct conversation or direct policy pledges from either candidate. I'm going to say it again. We should stand in solidarity with a no vote if we don't get direct policy promises and direct conversation for the black community. Don't you let them play you out as a person of color. Don't you let them play you out as a person of color. Don't you let them play you out as a person of color. Don't let them play you out as a minority. That's right. Talk to us or look for nothing from us. Until you talk to us, don't look for nothing from us. We will stand in solidarity with a no vote. Donald Trump, you got 3 months to start talking about specific policies and programs for African Americans. Donald Trump, you got 3 months. Scamala Harris, you got 90 days, less than 90 days till election day to start talking specifically about black folks, not minorities. That is an insult. Brothers and sisters, stop letting people talk to us as minorities and people of color. Stop letting people talk to us as minorities and people of color. Stop letting people talk to us as minorities and people of color. Tell them, address the American African people exclusively and particularly. Address the American African people exclusively and particularly. You must address the American African people exclusively and particularly. And there's 5 things y'all better address if you want a black vote. Y'all better address gentrification and homelessness for black people, not for Americans, not for minorities, not for people of color. For black people, y'all better address the migrant crisis, gentrification, and homelessness. Y'all better address the migrant crisis, gentrification, and homelessness, betterwise known as ethnic cleansing of black communities. Y'all better address the ethnic cleansing of black communities. Y'all better address the ethnic cleansing. Y'all better address mass incarceration in the school to prison pipeline. Y'all better address mass incarceration in the school to prison pipeline. Y'all better address mass incarceration in the school to prison pipeline. Y'all better address police genocide and black femicide. Y'all better address police genocide and black femicide. Y'all better address police genocide and black femicide. Y'all better address reparations and compensation for slavery and continuous discrimination of American Africans. Y'all better address reparations and compensation, not only for slavery, but for the continuous discrimination against the American African people since 1865. 159 years later, we still catching hell. 159 years later, we still catching hell. 159 years later, we still catching hell. And number 5, y'all better deal with the economic apartheid. Y'all better deal with the economic apartheid and economic destruction of the black community. I'm talking redlining by banks. I'm talking redlining by banks. I'm talking redline. I'm talking building industries so we can have black jobs for black people. I'm talking about building industries in the black community so we can have black jobs for black people. I'm talking about building industries in the black community so we can have black jobs for black people. But they're not going to address us. They're not going to address us because we set a bad precedent when we let Barack Obama get away with not dealing with black people, and we celebrated him, and we still celebrate him. We put ourselves in a very bad position. We put ourselves in a very bad position 12 years ago. 8 years ago. Actually, 16 years ago. Between 16 and 8 years ago, when we worshiped Barack Obama for doing absolutely nothing for black people, we set up a situation where presidential candidates don't have to address black people anymore. I told y'all this. This was in the prophecies of Ifa Tunde, 2012. This was in the prophecies of Ifa Tunde, 2016. I told y'all, not holding Barack Obama accountable means you can't hold nobody else accountable. Not holding Barack Obama accountable means you can't hold anybody else accountable. Not holding Barack Obama accountable means you can't hold anybody else accountable. Brothers and sisters, get your passport. All my Pan-Africanists in America, all my American African Pan-Africanists, please get your passport. Please get your passport, because if it get too crazy, we're going to have to charter a plane and fly right back to Africa. I said, if it gets too crazy, I'm going to have to get with Delta Airlines. I'm going to have to get with United Airlines. I'm going to have to get with American Airlines. I'm going to have to get with Spirit or Frontier or Southwest. I'm going to have to charter a plane and get my American African Pan-Africanists off this plantation and back home to Africa. If you feeling me, ladies, make a heart. If you feeling me, brothers, give me a black fist. If you feeling me, ladies, make a heart. If you feeling me, brothers, get a black fist. If you feeling me, ladies, make a heart. If you feeling me, brothers, give me a black fist. Get your passport, brothers and sisters, because we might have to charter a plane and get our asses up out of here. Make sure you get your passport. Make sure you get your passport, brothers and sisters. Make sure you get your passport, brothers and sisters. Please make sure you get your passport, because we might got to get up out of here. We might got to get up out of here. Please get your passport. Please get your passport. Please get your passport, brothers and sisters. Please get your passport, because we might got to get up out this plant. When the plantation starts to burn, we might got to get back home. When the plantation starts to burn, we might got to get back home. I don't know what the pretendians are going to do. I don't know what my pretendians, I still love y'all. Y'all just self-hating blacks. But what are y'all going to do when the plantation starts to burn? Because y'all don't got no land. Y'all ain't got no institutions. Y'all not from Africa. I don't know what the pretendians are going to do. I'll tell you what. We'll take the pretendian children to Africa with us. We will take the pretendian children to Africa with us. We will take, since y'all don't have no resources, y'all ain't got no institutions, y'all don't do nothing but talk shit on Facebook and Instagram. Pretendians, we will take your African babies with us. I don't want the pretendian children to suffer because of the self-hate of their pretendian parents. I don't want the pretendian children to suffer because of the self-hate of their pretendian parents. I don't want the pretendian children. Send my African children back home to Africa with us. Hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. 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 Hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Brothers and sisters, who is really ready to commit